Hello friends, welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by BetDSI. I am your host, Tom Downey. NFL free agency rapidly approaching, so let's take a look at some of the potential offensive free agency targets for the Dallas Cowboys. Now yes, the Cowboys are going to have 50 plus million, probably around 52 when it's all said and done in cap space, but they're going to want to extend Demarcus Lawrence plus some offensive guys like Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and maybe Zeke Elliott, which leaves your offensive needs, at least the ones that I'm going to focus on, wide receiver, tight end, offensive tackle, and running back. Those last two kind of more of the backup style. So we'll work our way down from quarterbacks through offensive linemen. 20 players in total that you could see the Cowboys have some level of interest in, although obviously they're not going to sign every single player we discuss. We'll start things off at quarterback, where I don't think the Cowboys are going to make many changes. Dak Prescott's your number one. Cooper, Rush, Mike White are your backups. I like the idea of bringing in some more competition for Rush and Mike White. I don't know, though, if the Cowboys are actually going to approach it in that way. So two players I want to mention at the quarterback spot. First up, Robert Griffin III, a guy that I've thrown out there before as a logical option for the Cowboys and ended up going to the Baltimore Ravens this year and fared decently enough as the backup. I think he'd be a nice fit behind Dak Prescott as a veteran-type quarterback. But even though he didn't play much, I wouldn't be surprised to see him stick around in Baltimore and continue to back up Lamar Jackson. Those two have enough similarities in their play style that I think it makes some sense for Baltimore to want to keep around a more mobile quarterback. One quarterback that I didn't think I was going to have on this show, but a last-second addition, Garrett Gilbert. And you Texas fans, I think you remember him. Played for the Panthers last year, technically got some snaps in Week 17, but he's mostly been a practice squad player. He did work out for the Cowboys in 2017, and now he's starting in the AAF for the Orlando Apollos, and actually fared pretty well in Week 1. 15 of 25, 227 through the air, 2 touchdowns, and by the way, caught a pass as well. Former late-round pick out of Texas. Again, he's not going to be the guy to usurp Dak. There's no one in this free agency class that could actually do that. But if you want to bring him in, give him a chance to compete for the number 2 and or number 3 role, I think that makes a little bit of sense there for the Cowboys. Now, we know this show is not possible without you. So what do you guys want me to do to celebrate hitting 15K subscribers? Let us know in the comments section. We put this up in the community tab of our channel the other day, and I'll go through some of the funnest ones that I found. From Billy Keith, who said pierce his scrotum, which is not happening. I'm not doing that. I like to think I've got some level of veto power involved here. That one's absolutely not happening. ETCH Family Guy says, how about the team gives him a Gatorade shower to celebrate 15K? I don't mind that one. Andy says, dye my hair blue. Maybe for like a day. I don't want to have blue hair for a month. That'd look pretty weird, I feel like. Coral Kate 54. By the way, multiple of you suggested this, and I'm a little bit concerned that you want me to wear a cowgirl's cheerleading outfit. Why are multiple of you suggesting that? Should I be a little bit worried here? Just kind of concerns me. And then Film Productions, a longtime watcher, says, make me grow a beard until we hit 30K. I don't mind that one, actually. That one sounds kind of fun there. I don't know how my fiance would feel about it. Also, has to be done by May, otherwise that's not going to fly for the wedding once I get married. Or maybe I shave off the entire beard and do a show beardless, and you can see why I wear one, because it actually is a baby face that I have, and I don't like it very much. But throw out some more ideas there in the comments section, or tweet them to me at WhatGoingDowney. All right, let's move to running back now. Zeke, well, of course, he's your number 1 guy. Rod Smith, he's a free agent. Jameis Olawale, I'm not going to delve into fullback free agents, but at running back, that's the key there. Jordan Shun, Darius Jackson, are those really legitimate backup guys? I know there's the cult of Darius Jackson that exists, but he was the number 3 for a reason there. Rod Smith's a free agent. That's a big potential red flag there. So you're looking for guys that are cheap and could also end up replacing Rod Smith. So first up, Amir Abdullah. The former second-round pick has very much been a bust, but he is a potential cheap change of pace back behind Zeke Elliott and offers return ability. That's a big deal for me. When you're looking at guys that are going to be, that third back, maybe that second back, probably more of a third back for Amir Abdullah, you want them to help out on returns, on special teams. Abdullah can do that. So too can Ty Montgomery, the running back who was traded by the Packers to the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, he's played wide receiver and running back in the NFL. Another cheap and versatile option, plus has return backgrounds there. Former third-round pick. Both Abdullah and Montgomery fit the mold of those relatively high draft picks that didn't work with their current teams, and that is a Will McClay special right there. To Jacksonville, two guys we'll actually discuss here today. First up, T.J. Yeldon. Now, coming off his best year as a pass catcher because Jacksonville sucked and they had to throw the ball a bunch each game. And he's likely more expensive than Ty Montgomery and Amir Abdullah, and also probably wants a bigger role than what the Cowboys might be willing to offer him. But if you want a true number 2 back, a guy that can actually take away snaps from Zeke Elliott, or at least give him more of a breather during games, and it isn't Rod Smith, Yeldon makes some sense. Here's another potential, more of a third, or of a number 3 back, excuse me. That's Corey Grant, also from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, he missed most of 2018 with a Lisfranc foot injury, which is going to drive down his price. Always trying to find value here for the Cowboys when they go through free agency, because you're not going to spend big money on a back. That just doesn't make any sense. Can help on special teams. He's fast, return ability, should be cheap. Now, as a veteran, with his first actual contract coming up beyond being an undrafted free agent, he might try to get just the biggest offer, which I don't know if that's going to fit for the Cowboys. A name several of you have mentioned in the past is Darren Sproles, and he is the exact type of running back the Cowboys could use. He's fast, still at his advanced age 36, offers return ability, can catch passes as well, but he will turn 36. Injuries have been a problem of late for Darren Sproles, and I kind of suspect it's going to be retirement, or I'm only going to play for the Philadelphia Eagles at this point in his career. So I like the idea of Darren Sproles. I love the idea of a Darren Sproles type back, but I don't know if Darren Sproles himself is actually going to end up coming to the Dallas Cowboys. Now back to the overall back discussion. Should Rod Smith be the backup running back next year? Type A for yes, type B for no. I'm down to bring him back, but I also want to go out and get some more help at running back, most likely via the NFL draft. I think that would make quite a bit of sense for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get to receivers, but first, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use that promo code you see right there, Cowboys120. It gets you a 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50, boom, an extra $60 for free to bet with from BetDSI. Free money is the best type of money out there. And by the way, it becomes a 150% deposit bonus if you guys use Bitcoin. So DM us on Twitter @ChatSports if you need help with Bitcoin. Help us help you get that extra bonus money on BetDSI and turn a nice little profit there once we get back to the NFL season, or right now during the AAF and NBA season. As promised, to receivers now, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, those two guys are staying. We'll see about Cole Beasley and Allen Hurns and Tavon Austin. I think Terrence Williams is gone. Lance Lenore, Noah Brown, Ced Wilson, Devin Smith, all competing for a role. But if you lose Cole Beasley and you lose Tavon, even if you just lose Cole, you're probably looking for more help there. Receiver is a need for the Cowboys. I feel great about their top two guys, Cooper and Gallup. Give me another secondary option to replace Cole Beasley. Let's look at some of the free agent receivers here. John Brown, he's first up for me. I think he'd be a great fit for the Dallas Cowboys. Can play outside, inside, which I think actually gives you 3 guys that can play slot if needed. John Brown, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup among your top 3. You can move them all around. I like that idea for the Cowboys offense. He also brings speed, something that the Cowboys don't have enough of. Tavon can fly, Amari Cooper's very fast, but you can never have too much speed. I like the idea of adding John Brown, but he might end up pricing himself out, and he might try and take another 1-year prove-it deal like he did with the Ravens. Next up, Dez Bryant, because how can we not include him on this, right? Played for the Cowboys for a long time. He and Linehan hated each other. Linehan's gone. Would Dez take a small role? Plus Sean the Snake Lee, as Dez had called him, might also be gone. So how could we not include Dez Bryant here? I don't know if it's actually all that likely, though. It's a fun idea. I'm willing to have that conversation, unlike I was last year, because I think it makes a little bit of sense. But does Dez want to end up being, in all reality, the number 4 target on the Cowboys? He would not be number 1. That's Cooper. Number 2 is probably Gallup or Zeke Elliott. Either way, that's 2 and 3. If you want to feature Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz more, or a younger receiver, that's even less snaps for Dez. So would he take a lesser role? And unfortunately for Dez, we know the red zone connection with him and Dak isn't the way it was with Dez and Tony. So should the Cowboys bring back Dez Bryant? Type 1 for yes, type 0 for no. I'm open to the idea, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I do think, though, that at some point you'll see Dez Bryant retire as a Dallas Cowboy. That one absolutely needs to happen. Next up is Randall Cobb, another notable name, I think, among the wide receivers here. Limited to 9 games this year, his numbers have really declined over the past few seasons. Injuries have been an issue for Randall Cobb. That's a big factor in why his production has gone down. Now, Aaron Rodgers still likes him, and that's, I think, a good sign for a receiver, right? And he can still make plays. I don't know what exactly his price tag is going to be. I think it would be less than Cole Beasley because of the injuries for Cobb, but I'm not actually sure. This might be more of a wait-and-see type free agent target. So, too, I think, is Jamison Crowder. Also played in just 9 games, which I think keeps his price down. I think a cheaper slot option than a Randall Cobb or even a Cole Beasley, because Crowder hasn't quite broken out in the way I think the Redskins had hoped he was going to. They let go of some receivers a couple of years ago, and they thought, okay, Crowder, he's going to have his breakout year. And it didn't actually end up happening, and the injuries were still there. A cheap potential option as almost a stopgap, maybe a 1 or 2 year deal if Beasley leaves and you spend a later round pick on a slot receiver, but he's definitely a name to monitor. Now, Crowder never had his breakout year, but Adam Humphries did. That happened this season, just 25 years old, coming off his best season. This is called hitting the open market at the proper time. He has emerged really as one of the better slot receivers, pure slots, in the NFL, and oh, by the way, can also help on punt returns. Had a big year for the Bucs as part of their prolific passing attack. 76 catches, 816 yards, and 5 touchdowns. A far cry from a player who didn't play all that much at Clemson. He's going to get a big contract. He'll be more expensive, I think, than Cole Beasley. And at that point, don't you just re-sign Cole Beasley? And then one name I would love the Cowboys to get, but I don't think they actually will. That's Golden Tate. He's been a very productive player year in, year out in the NFL. Almost 100 receptions, over 1,000 yards averaged over the past 5 years. Here's my question around Golden Tate. Perfect Dak Prescott type of receiver. Gets open on his own, a good route runner, creates separation, exactly what Dak and really any quarterback in the NFL wants. My question is, this is probably going to be his last big contract. Does he cash in like he did when he signed with the Lions the first time, or does he take a bit of a discount and try and sign with a contender like the Dallas Cowboys? If it's the latter, you better believe I have interest. If it's not, you probably got to spend that money elsewhere, unfortunately. Now, with the receiver overall and then the core as a unit, how do you want the Cowboys to improve and bolster it? Type D for the draft or F for free agency. DM me on Twitter at whatgoingdown if you guys want to hear my answer, and I'll include some other examples, namely for the draft. Moving now to tight end, and tight end is in an interesting spot for both the draft and, of course, our focus here, free agency. Dalton Schultz is your starter, but Blake Jarwin is almost your pass-catching starter, so tight end 1A, tight end 1B. Kind of feel like Rico's time was about to run out here, and Jeff Swain was a free agent. So if you're the Cowboys, I think you've got 2 number 2 tight ends, Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin. You don't need a third. You either need a young guy to develop or a low-risk, high-reward type player as that number 3, or you get a legit number 1 guy. You don't want to have more of the same. You don't need 3 number 2 tight ends, and they all kind of eat into each other's snaps and all that. So to fit that number 1 role, 2 guys to watch out for. First up, Jared Cook. A veteran, I think he's the top free agent tight end this year. Now, there are some reasons for concern here. When you see players who are going to turn 32 years old and they're coming off a career year, that typically means it's a bit of a fluke. Now, Cook has had production in the past, and he's never going to be a top 10 tight end, I don't think. And his numbers, I think, will drop down after almost a 70-catch, 900-yard season this year. I think those will decline next year. But if you want a veteran on a 2 or 3 year deal and go all in right now, I think Jared Cook makes some sense. Now, the best of both worlds, I think, is Tyler Eifert, the talented tight end from the Cincinnati Bengals. When healthy, he is a legit tight end. He always makes plays, great in the red zone, a touchdown machine. The problem is for Tyler Eifert, he's never healthy. He has missed more games in his NFL career than he's played in. That's not a good sign for any NFL player. He's always hurt. You cannot trust him to get through, at this point, any game. You just assume he's going to go down. Now, if he's cheap, he takes a 1-year prove-it deal, sign me up. I like that idea a ton. The problem is, I think that's true for like 20 NFL teams. They'd love to sign Tyler Eifert to a cheap 1-year prove-it deal. He could just end up back with the Bengals on a similar 1-year deal like he signed last year. Next up is Ryan Hewitt. Now, this is a lesser name, so bear with me here. He's mostly been a blocker in the NFL, but he has played both tight end and fullback. The Cowboys value positional flex. That's what Ryan Hewitt is. So here's my proposal. You sign Ryan Hewitt. He's going to be cheap. The dude caught one pass last year. He is a number 3 tight end who can also serve as your fullback. Rod Smith has played fullback before. Noah Brown has played tight end before. Why don't you just have those 3 players on your roster filling multiple roles, and that's how you maximize the back end of your roster, by having players that can do multiple things. I think in reality, a tight end that can play fullback and tight end, of course, is a little bit more valuable than a tight end you're trying to groom who can maybe become a big-bodied pass catcher, Rico Gathers. Next up, Jesse James, who you guys have mentioned him multiple times, so I wanted to include him. I'm not all that intrigued by him. He's never really emerged for Pittsburgh despite having some changes before, and frankly, I don't know if James is an upgrade over Blake Jarwin or Dalton Schultz. So then you're stuck with the same dilemma you have right now. You got 3 guys who are solid, I think, tight end 2s, or at least could be solid tight end 2s. Who's your number 1, though? Do you just have them all share time? That kind of defeats the purpose, I think, of what Dak prefers, of having one guy being the guy at each spot. So I'm open to the idea of Jesse James if he's cheap, but at the same time, I think he wants to prove himself. He's not going to get that chance, per se, with the Dallas Cowboys. One more tight end here, what I call the Will McClay special of, were you a bust in the NFL? Come to Dallas. We'll give you another chance as long as you sign cheaply. Looking at you, Dayton Jones, for example. Max Williams fits that mold. Number 55 overall pick, a low-risk addition. He might not even make the roster, but you give him a chance. It's a Will McClay type signing, 2nd-round pick. Fell out of favor in Baltimore behind other highly drafted tight ends. Think about this. The Ravens had a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd-round pick tight end on their roster this year. Crazy, right? So Williams, I'm intrigued by it. I don't think he'd be a number 1 guy, but bring him in. Maybe he can compete and at least push Blake Jarwin a little bit as that pass catcher type tight end. So in 2019, who should start at tight end for the Dallas Cowboys? Let me know in the comment section if you want it to be Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin, Jeff Swain, Rico Gathers, or a free agent or draft pick not currently on the Cowboys roster. We'll get to offensive line, but first I am wearing a Mizzen and Main shirt, as I always do. Go check them out, comfortable.af. You guys will not find a more comfortable dress shirt, heck, any shirt out there, than a Mizzen and Main one. Now to offensive line, where your interior is set. Sewell, Frederick, Zach Martin, those are your starters. And then you've got really good depth. Xavier Su'a-Filo, Joe Looney, Parker Ehringer, Adam Redmond. You probably let Marcus Martin go, whatever. You are fine on the interior entering this offseason because I do think Frederick returns. Now the question mark becomes at tackle. Tyron Smith played well this year, but the back and the shoulder and the injuries are a concern. La'el Collins, I thought, got better, but it's entering the last year of his deal. How much do you trust him next year and going forward? And then most importantly, Cam Fleming is the swing tackle. He is a free agent. So in reality, in free agency, you're looking for a veteran swing tackle type, and then in the draft, maybe someone to groom. So only 2 offensive linemen that we'll discuss here. First up, Cedric Ogbuehi, who also fits the former first-round bust mold, maybe gets a second chance. Here's the thing with Ogbuehi. He's just bad. He's just not a good NFL player. Played in 1 game this year. Couldn't beat out Bobby Hart, who sucks. Remember Bobby Hart from the Giants, right? Got cut by the Giants, whose offensive line was bad, and started for the Bengals, whose right tackle spot was perhaps the worst in the NFL. Ogbuehi couldn't even beat him out. That's a big concern right there. So maybe take a shot on Ogbuehi, bring him in. If you do, I don't think you're set at tackle. It's more like the Demarcus Martin signing from last year. Bring him in, let him compete, but don't assume you're done at tackle because you signed Ogbuehi because he's just not a very good player. Now, one player who I think would solidify your swing tackle needs is Ty Nsekhe. A Redskins swing tackle for the past couple of years, has had starting experience in the past in large part due to injuries. A little bit older than you'd probably like, but if he can't find a starting job, meaning if Ty can't, maybe you bring him in to replace Cam Fleming, who I think will also try to find a starting job this offseason. Nsekhe's a solid player, a good backup, and you hurt a division rival in the process. That's always fun. All right, for those of you just now joining us here on Facebook, let's recap my top 20 offensive free agent targets. Of course, I'm not going to sign all of them, but just some names to keep in mind as we get to free agency. RG3, Garrett Gilbert, Amir Abdullah, Ty Montgomery, T.J. Yeldon at quarterback and halfback, and then also Corey Grant and Darren Sproles. To receiver, John Brown. We had to include Dez Bryant, right? Randall Cobb, Jamison Crowder, Adam Humphries. I'd love to get Golden Tate. I think he might be too expensive. Jared Cook, Tyler Eifert, Ryan Hewitt. Sign me up for the guy that can block a lot and basically be your fullback there. Jesse James, who I know some of you guys like. Max Williams, Cedric Ogbuehi, and Ty Nsekhe. So, who is the offensive free agent you most want the Cowboys to sign? Let me know in the comments section. Any name you guys have in mind, just let me know. I'll be sure to respond and give my own thoughts on that player if there wasn't one that we discussed. And stay tuned for later on in the week, folks. We will have some defensive free agent targets as well for the Dallas Cowboys. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.